Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and share my screen. As soon as Thinkorswim is done loading, I'll share my screen and we'll give a few minutes just for more people to trickle in. I said I was starting at 4 or 7, and I'll continue to mute all as people come in. And I want to detach the chat. The way the chat is. Okay, there we go. Can someone type something in the chat and just let me know that you can hear me or that the chat works, right? Just do a little bit of checking here. All right, get my Thinkorswim share on the share screen right here. Do my main Thinkorswim build. Awesome, glad you guys can hear me. And then let me pop out the participants list. Where is that? Okay, there we go, participants. Where you at? That way I can continue to mute people as they come in because I know some people come in unmuted naturally. We're live, we're here, we're awesome. So to get started, while people check in, before I dive into like what exactly the mentorship will be covering, specific details of it and all that, what we're going to talk about first is just some of the trades that I was watching today and what I ended up taking and how those went, right? So first thing that was on my radar was Facebook. And as you guys know, we had a level, I moved it down to 66s, but it was really 336.90s, right? That 336.90s I've been talking about for a while. And I was stalking that level for an entry, right? I was really hoping that we get a pullback on that. Let me shrink this down a little bit, make this one bigger. I was really hoping we would get a pullback, a spike down, but we didn't get that. And so what I was watching for and what my main trading plan was in order to take a full size position on Facebook, which I would have really liked to do, right? And having seen the quality of the setup, looking at the NASDAQ and the overall market for a trending move, the first thing I wanted, or in an ideal world, we wouldn't have gapped up so far in Facebook. We would have opened closer to where we could have spiked down into the level. And I could have bought against that level with some size, really had some confidence in it, maybe even gotten a nice little buy setup, some nice price action around that level, but we didn't get that. So what I ended up doing was taking a smaller size entry when I saw us push down and then push back over the open. So I was watching this on a 2-minute time frame. You won't necessarily be able to see the candle be red because it closed green, obviously. But what I was watching for is when we opened up in the morning on this 2-minute candle, we spiked down a little bit. We stayed red. It was only for about 5, 10, 15 seconds. So it really was stalking closely. And the candle started to flip green. And as soon as I saw us push back over the opening price, I was willing to take a small size entry. And from there, where I would have had my stop on this, just for this small size entry, would have been below the little low that we had created just then, right? Now, depending on the price action overall, depending on the overall market price action, maybe I would have built a position into like a 337 pullback. But my initial thought process in this plan on the small size entry this morning was, okay, how can I have like sort of a tight stop on this, right? And that tight stop was just up beneath this low of the day that we created early on, right? So again, anything at the open like this that you take has to be smaller size because, and I call it Stevie wondering sometimes, right? You're buying blind because you don't really have a full candles, even a full 2-minute candles worth of data. So one, the setup itself has to be quality enough for you to even be interested in that trade. And then beyond the quality of the setup, you have to go with smaller size just because really anything can happen in either direction at the open, right? Am I maxed out at 100 participants? I thought I could have more than that because I have a paid Zoom, but maybe there's just exactly 100 people in here. Regardless, you're the first 100, so you win. And I'll get the recording up for everybody else if it is the case, but I do need to fix that because we will have, I think, more than 100 people. But so, sorry, sometimes I get distracted, but it's all good. So on that Facebook push up into 340, 343s, 50s, that is when I ended up taking off a good chunk of my position, right? That was my target. That was damn thing, Bro included. That was my level, right? Was up into that 340, 350. So I took a good chunk off there. And then from there, I was watching for re-entries because Facebook was super strong on the day. And as I'll teach in the mentorship, one of the biggest things that I look at, the core parts of my strategy, is who's strong and who's weak, right? I think it's a simplified thing that not enough people spend time looking at, right? So when Facebook had some relative strength on the day, I waited for a nice little pullback in here on the 2-minute and the 5-minute. And then once our 5-minute started to flip over previous bar's high and we were getting a push back over our level, took an earlier additional entry here and just sort of scalped it and caught a nice move up into the 346 area. And I was all out by before this pop in the end of the day, right? So I didn't catch that end of the move, but I caught the bulk of the move that I wanted, right? I caught the day trade move that I wanted. And when you catch the day trade move that you want, I don't want to be greedy and try and force things to hold into tomorrow, right? And try and push my luck. So I didn't swing any of this tonight. I'm not freaking out over the fact that I didn't hold any Facebook. If we gap up and keep going tomorrow, I'll find a new entry, right? There'll be something else that will present an opportunity to me. And I had a very good Monday that's kind of setting the tone for the week. So now I always talk about defense mode, but after that Monday, I really am in defense mode, right? Because why push my luck after starting the week? Oh, that's not, let's get this. Just under 20, right? If you just under 20K, I ended up giving back a couple hundred on that Facebook on my last 5, but there's no reason to push from here, right? And this is one of the things that I'll talk about in the psychology. I'm not afraid to take an opportunity or a risk if a good trade presents itself, but I'm also not going to be crazy seeking out bad trades or mediocre trades because I don't need to. And it's the last trading week of the year. The last thing you want to do is give back on some of your big P&L for the year, right? My P&L for the year is pretty nice. I don't want to give any of that back, right? So that was the Facebook trade today. I did want to make sure I covered a couple of charts. The other one that I was watching was Tesla. Tesla had a level at 1085s. And this right here was actually what I was describing to somebody else as the ideal entry for, make sure everyone's muted. Was the ideal entry for Tesla from a 5-minute perspective. Right. And what I was looking at for Tesla here was I didn't get anything off the open because it wasn't gapping up. So mute everybody. Make sure that if you're not muted, to mute yourself. I don't have headphones in, but I have my speakers in so I can hear stuff. But yeah, mute yourself if possible. Not in a rude way, just in a let's keep it moving way. So on what's it called? On Tesla here on this 5-minute basis is what I was really watching because it was my second chart up on the screen. I don't usually have 2 time frames for that one. So I was watching it on the 5-minute here, and the only level we had was 1085s, which Tesla was gapping under, right? Gap above that would have been a little bit too big, but it was gapping a little too far above this 1067 I was watching. 1070s I should have raised. So I wasn't really sure if there was anything off the rip or off the open that I could play on. So I was just going to watch for some sort of intraday setup to see what happened. Tesla had some relative strength, ended up putting in a little bit of a reversal pattern here. We'll talk about why that was a reversal pattern in depth, in the lessons, but really key thing I was looking at was this little inside bar and the break back above that after a strong initial push up off the open back over the level that we were watching, right? So as that happened, I was able to take an entry on Tesla, or that would have been the ideal one. I actually took one a little bit early on that and ended up catching a nice Tesla move as well, right? So overall, really good trading day. Looking back at the NASDAQ, I kind of wish I had been more aggressive because I mean, there was moves and opportunities all over today, right? Apple really stalled and pulled back early in the day just to absolutely rip the rest of the day, right? And I was watching Apple, noticing it was relatively weak around here. But if you're using the strategy that I post on my YouTube, that's for free, that I imagine a lot of you have watched, look at Apple just pulling back and giving us bullish price action around the opening price for the day, right? Now, you could have waited for a potential short if it was weak and gotten beneath the open, but the action wasn't telling us that, right? And it started to flip trend and then had a very clean move up, right? So I wish I had been a little bit more aggressive seeing the NASDAQ, but I really wasn't ready to risk a ton of cash when the NASDAQ daily chart looks the way it does, right? If we see how the NASDAQ daily chart looks the way it does, that's just mayhem, right? This is just 4 or 5 straight days of parabolicness. At some point, we're going to get some sideways consolidation, or we're going to get our big red bar like we've seen previously that slams down, right? Now, I think we do have the strength that can take us to all-time highs, but it's just not a day that I wanted to trade a ton of sides with. And so I don't have a ton of regrets about that, even though, and that's one of the things that I talk about in the mentorship a lot and just on my Instagram a lot. Again, I don't care if you do the mentorship or not. I'm pretty confident I'm going to sell out more spots than people, or less spots than people who want to do it. But regardless of that, even from my Instagram, for you as a trader, you need to be taking the psychology aspect seriously. So when you see days like today and you feel FOMO and stuff, you just can't, right? Because if you let that affect you, tomorrow you're going to go too heavy on a position you shouldn't be taking, right? The market's going to do something that we all don't expect, or something that out of the time that we don't expect it to, and you're going to have too much size on, and you're going to regret it, right? And so ultimately, until you take that psychology aspect of trading seriously, it's like you're really doing yourself a disservice, right? That's the only way I can describe it. So with that being said, though, what I do want to do is move over. Again, this wasn't meant to be a super long thing. We've covered a couple of charts, giving you all some information. I don't see a ton of questions popping up, and I think that's just because you're all soaking up the info that's coming in. And I have to say, this is often how my lessons, one-on-one or group lessons, go. And this is why I feel comfortable having a big group setting while I'm doing lessons, is because the way I teach is very fluid and continuous. I don't feel like there will be a ton of questions popping up that I can't fluidly answer as they're coming in, because most of the time people are spending their time listening, right? And really soaking it up. So the one question, can you review why that was your level? That will be part of the mentorship. The level system that I use is very specific, and I wish that I could give that away for free, but I didn't get it for free. And I had paid to learn it as well. And it's one of the most, it's like a secret sauce, right? So I can't cover exactly why that was my level. And in terms of executing trades and what would make a good opportunity to enter, again, these are all things that we're going to cover in depth in the mentorship. And this session is less designed as a Q&A and more designed as me breaking down a few charts and then going over exactly what we're going to cover. So let me pause this share. Yeah, Speedy, I'm sorry about that. I don't mean to. I always used to hate when people were like, "Oh, I'll teach you this in my course, not in here." So I try to give a ton out for free. There's just certain things, right, that I would like to monetize, and I have a course and I have, all that. So, okay, let me stop sharing and then share a new screen, and I'm going to share with you all one of the outlines. So I deleted some of the specifics of this. Let me go through some of these questions. So when do you send in payment? I don't have my site and my bank account, all the business bank account, all that for this specific project is in the works. So I'm hopeful by the end of next week, I'll have all of that up and running for you all to purchase it and guarantee you're locked in. For everybody who's DM'd me and gone out of the way and I've told you you're locked in, I have your email on a separate list, and I mean it, because we've all talked about price, the price, all that. So you're locked in. I truly mean that. And if you want to be, go out of your way, DM me, we'll talk specifics, and I can lock you in. To answer a common question, I do plan on capping this. I'm going to raise the cap from the 100 that I initially thought, just because there was like 850 responses, and I don't want to deny people, because I truly think that from a lessons perspective, I can handle a mass amount of people in there. Where I want to make sure that I cater to everyone is in those Q&A sessions. So the more people I take, we're going to break the Q&A sessions into smaller groups and have more of them, all of which will be available to you all. So you'll never feel like you don't have a chance to answer questions, have your questions answered and all that. In terms of the lessons, though, those are going to be 60 to 90 minutes of me ranting, right? So again, this is, let me see these last two questions. Yeah, let me talk about the schedule and structure and all this. So, and no, this won't be a one-time thing. I do plan to offer this again and again. I don't know what price point I'm going to offer it at. I don't know any of the specific details. I definitely, it won't be cheaper than this. I don't think this is the lowest price point I'd want to do. But depending on how this goes, yeah, I'm not trying to push you into do it. I'm just letting you, that's the God's honest truth. I do plan on doing them again. I don't know what the structure and stuff will be though. Okay, so let me cover some of this and let me add some of this as we go. So with the content, what it will be is it's going to be 10 group lessons, right? And in those 10 group lessons, I'm going to teach you A to Z, everything you need to know. Sorry, my sister and her dog just got home. I teach you everything you need to know within those 10 lessons from A to Z, right? And so within those, let's see what we're going to cover here. Again, deleted some of the specifics of what we're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about, in the beginning, technical analysis introduction for all of you who are brand new and basic. I have one book that I'll ask you to read or start. We'll recap some basic technical and stuff. I'll break down the broker I use, how to get started demo accounts, all that in the very beginning. And then from there, we dive right in to the meat and bones of everything, right? And so the lesson 2, the reason I left all of this up is I'm really excited about this because this will be where we talk about the small accounts. I spent a large portion of my trading career trading with smaller accounts. That was part of what I did. And then I would withdraw from those weekly rather than try and build them and then ultimately lose a big chunk of what I had been building. I built the withdrawal method that allowed me to pay myself and develop some consistency earlier on before I had over 25,000 to day trade, before I had 10,000, before I had 15,000, before I had money that I really wanted to risk in the market. I found a system, right? So this in lesson 2 is where I talk about all of that. We'll talk about risk management. Then we'll dive deeper into technical analysis. This section will have our buy setups. This section will have candle analysis, trend analysis, which are the 2 main things that I use to trade. Talk about the bar by bar stuff, very specific candle stuff. So by lesson 3, even if you're an experienced trader in a little bit, you've just been struggling, by lesson 3, I promise you it's going to be stuff that you're unfamiliar with unless you've read the bar by bar book by heart and have it memorized by heart, because I kind of do. It'll be new stuff. So when people have been asking, should I wait for an advanced thing, all that, I don't know that I'm going to be offering the advanced one anytime soon. I talked to some people and my energy is really going to be focused on this one. So you can handle 1 or 2 lessons of some repeat information. I still think it's going to be worth it to you because some repeat, not all repeat. As soon as we get into lesson 3, that's where we're going to go hard, people. Okay, I'm excited for this, right? Break down into hourly levels. We'll get into more advanced candles, price action, criteria for different spreads and everything. Then we'll talk about options. And from lesson 6 on, it's going to be specifics, how I do what I do every single day, right? Day trading strategies, swing trading strategies. Then we'll have a couple of trading psychology chapters and some live trading and examples run-throughs, right? And so the live trading, I'm going to try and do at least 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the mentorship. The other thing is that I will be doing pre-market Zooms all the time. Live trading, I worry about how that affects my psychology and how I affect me being in the trade, right? And that is something that I'm not 100% willing to compromise that on like a daily basis for. But I'm definitely have it in the plans to do multiple times. And the pre-market Zooms is something that I want to do daily, because then I can explain to you my exact thought process and you can see exactly what I'm looking at. And that will give you a really clear understanding of where exactly we're going and what I'm looking at for that particular day, right? So, will I be selling recordings in the future? I don't think so. No, because the whole point of this is to do it live, right? And so my plan is to offer this same program again, and I'll teach it live again, rather than sell a discounted recorded version. I'm not like a super opposed to doing that, but like, I think part of the value that you'll gain from this mentorship is being in the lessons live, even if they're not, the lessons themselves aren't super questions based, but then also being like in all the mentees will have a specific Discord. They'll have it for life. It's not going to be signals based for life. I love you all, but I can't do that. But you'll be in there for life, and I'll be in there for life and be able to ask me questions and all that. And again, most of the activity from me on that will come during the actual, while we're going through all the lessons and stuff. But like I said, I'll be in there, right? And I spend way too much time on Discord as a whole, so I'm not going to ignore constant questions, right? If stuff comes up in there. So you still have access to that. So if we can't join in its entirety, are you going to have access to recordings? Yes. So every lesson will be recorded, and then videos will take like a day to process probably, and they'll probably be emailed out access to them, or I'll put them on YouTube with the private link that only you can see, only approved people can see after the lesson's completed. So the next day, right? So yes, you'll have access to the recordings, and you'll have access to them for life. So you'll be able to keep them for the rest of time. We filled out a Google form. How do you know that I select this? DM me on Instagram to lock in and confirm. I'm sending out emails over the next few days. So over the next few days, I'm going to be sending out emails to everybody, to the people that I've already talked to. But if you really want to lock it in, just DM me. Just DM me and tell me your email. Tell me you know the price, you're good with it, which the price is $9.97. It's $1,000. For the amount of content that you're getting, I feel very good about the price that I'm offering it at, especially compared to some of the other programs and stuff that I see out there. And again, this is for 10 lessons. And then depending on the Q&A sessions, it's not going to be 2. It's going to be 5 to 8 and probably more like 8 to 10. And I'll be offering those. The way the schedule will work is that it's going to be boot camp style, in the sense that I don't want to drag this over months and months and months and have you guys be like, when's our next lesson? When's our next lesson? So we're going to do 2 or 3 a week for probably 2 a week for 5 weeks. Right? Tuesday, Thursday, I haven't locked it down yet, but the idea would be like Tuesday, Thursday lessons. Monday, Wednesday, we'll have a Q&A. And then if, depending on the size of the groups, maybe Friday a Q&A as well. The lessons will all start after 8 or 9 Eastern PM. That way to cater to everybody's 9 to 5s. And the Q&As will be scattered at different times throughout the day and night. That way that everybody has an opportunity to attend them, whether they work nights, whether like Thursdays, we'll scatter them around. Again, you'll have access to all of the recordings for life, including the Q&As as well on that. So, okay, I have a bunch of questions that I'm going to get to while we're in here. If I'm not mistaken, we're still sitting at like 100 participants, and it's just, you guys just rock. Yeah. And so there's people who have been trying to get in. They haven't. Is there going to be a graduation bender? Yes. We're going to have to plan one of those for sure. Someone said, show us the funky pants. Yeah. My stripes are on every day. So for those of you who don't know, I trade in funky pants every single day. One of the tips and tricks that I talk about for your psychology that I tell everybody is that, one of the tips and tricks that I tell everybody for psychology is to develop real life, everyday, consistent habits that you do without fail, right? One of my real life consistent day habits is I put on nice pants. If I can't put on nice or funky pants, that means I'm probably too tired and I probably shouldn't be trading. I had one big losing day over the past 8 weeks. I lost like 13 or something like that, 13K. And lo and behold, it's the day I didn't put my funky pants on. I shit you not. Right. So was that the reason? I don't know. Probably not. Probably a whole different bunch of reasons, but I can guarantee you that played a role, right? When you don't follow your real life, everyday consistent habits, you're going to break your trading rules. What if we have scheduling issues with the class? With a lot of the lessons are live. I think I mentioned that they'll all be recorded. You'll get all access to them. Yes, in the swing trading section, I'll cover my debit spreads and the strategies I use for that, as well as in the small account section, because debit spreads are a huge portion of how I was able to grow small accounts. Yes, I'm going to go over, assume so. Yes, I'm going to go over everything that I talk about is applicable to all account sizes, right? So I say, so Speedy, I say that it was small accounts, right? That I'm going to be gearing a lot of this to. That's how I started and traded a lot, right? I managed my risk on my large account very similarly, right? I withdraw very similarly. So it's all applicable to larger ones. It's just particularly useful to small accounts, but I'll definitely be covering large account stuff as well, because you do manage your risk a little bit differently. Graduation at Flights and Camels. That I'm not opposed to. Do you plan on opening your own Discord aside from the mentorship? Yes, that is part of my plans for the near future. All the mentees will get access to that Discord for the month that the mentorship is. And then after that, you get a discounted rate on whatever, I haven't decided to price it, but whatever the subscription price is, you have a discounted rate on that for life because you did the mentorship. But truthfully, I hope if you're good enough, you won't need my subscription after you do the mentorship. My true goal is not to cycle you into the subscription as much as I would love your business. And as much as I think you would gain value from my trades and pre-market lives and all that, I'm going to give you enough info that hopefully, maybe after a few months, after, a while, I want you to be able to do this on your own. I want you all to be really competent people. There's no decisions made on other stuff right now, Aaron. I'm not, I don't know. I need to talk more specifics. But aside from that, I see somebody has their hand up. I see that you sent me a direct message. I don't know how to actually read it, but I will read it when I know how. But with that being said, if you guys have questions related to the mentorship, I would love to answer all of your general trading questions right now, but I can't. My sister's here with her dog and I gotta stop talking pretty soon. But if you have questions specifically about the mentorship, let me know, because I would love to answer some of those questions, ease some persuasions, blah, blah, blah. Then I would love to go about it any way that I could, right? So you see, is there a way to do a payment plan? So unfortunately, I don't think that the payment processor that I'm using offers payment plans. I don't think they have a firmware thing that. If they do, I'll happily set that up, and I don't mind as long as the payment processor takes it. But I got to do all transactions through my payment processor, and I don't know if they offer payment plans. So a few people asked about that. I really wish they did, but I don't know if that's the case. But I would encourage. Fuck Jake from State Farm. Agreed. Even if you don't have, if it's not in the wheelhouse for this round, then don't worry, because I'm going to do this again. I'm going to offer it again. I can promise you that for sure. All of the times are, let me make sure I can mute everybody. All of the times, the 8 to 9 Eastern that I mentioned, the 8 to 9 p.m. lesson times, that was Eastern. So 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 6 p.m. East Pacific, or one of, they would either start at, I think they would start at 6 p.m. is what I'm leaning towards, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That way, everybody East and West Coast who works a 9 to 5 can get off, come home, try and be home by 6 or 9, and we can do a quick lesson. Not a quick, they'll be thick, but we'll do a lesson, right? And that's my hope. And that's my, if you guys have a better idea than that, then let me know, but that's my best thought process to really cater to everybody. Hold on, sorry about that. I need to turn that off in the background.
This great iconic R&B club in New York called McKell's.
Sorry about that. Can't you do Venmo? No, trust me, I don't want to do Venmo. I need to do this everything above board. So is there anything needed prior to signer up? Broker, passport for Bender, and pen paper. Yes, give me your passport for your Bender. Send me your social security numbers too. I'll need that. No, but what I will say is that you want to have an account with TD Ameritrade, and you want to have that funded with at least $500. That way you can at least get real-time paper trading information, right? So you can at least start with a demo account. The second thing is read the book Charting and Technical Analysis by Fred McCallan. If you're brand new, if you're familiar with charts and stuff, that's fine. But what this will allow us to do is skip me explaining to you when a candle opens, it's green, when a candle closes, it's red, like all the super basic stuff, which I'm happy to explain, but it just allows us as a group to move faster. If you read part of this book, it's very easy read, very straightforward, very simple. In my reels, and it's called Charting and Technical Analysis by Fred McCallan. And you also will get a way better experience out of the mentorship if you have that kind of background knowledge. That way, when we start moving at a quicker pace, that you're not having to review notes constantly and stuff. So highly recommend reading that one in advance. Will you have one-on-ones in the future? No, I don't think I'll ever offer the individual one-on-ones again. I got so burnt out from doing them. I was doing like 4 or 5 a day. They're just very time inefficient unless I'm charging, like 7, like, wouldn't you rather do a mentorship where you're in a group like this and you get 20 hours of stuff and get, as opposed to paying $1,000 for 2 one-on-ones? I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? Where's Wendy? Wendy's in LA, and I will be there very soon. Okay, so it's Jake, not Jack. However, I appreciate this because you're the same person who said fuck Jack from State Farm earlier. Will you go through the opening scalp strategy? Yeah, I will talk about that one in depth. That's one of my 5 main day trading strategies that I use, is how we react to the opening price. For specifics on that right now, go to YouTube and you will find an explanation video on that, right? All right. If we were already on other brokers, been trading for a bit, is that okay? Yeah, so if you're using it, broker is up to you. Here's the reason I advise TD Ameritrade. I use something called the active trader, where I can move in and out of my contracts very fast. I use TD Ameritrade to help find moving stocks each day with their market maker move stuff. So I use, and we're going to talk about Thinkorswim a lot. Not a lot, not like too much, but everything I'm going to do is Thinkorswim based. And so you may enjoy, I think, you might get more out of it, and you might be able to fully adopt my style more using Thinkorswim. That being said, if you're familiar with E-Trade and you know how to move in quick, or Tastyworks or whoever, do you, right? Do whatever broker is best for your personal preference. The reason I say Thinkorswim is we will be covering the specifics of how I use it. You do a one-on-one if we fly out in person and fund a Bender. I mean, it's hard to say no to that. Gotcha. What about reading the tape? I personally don't read the tape. It's just not something that I do very often. So I can cover some of it and stuff because I know how to do it, but I don't do it, right? What I want to teach you all is what I do day in and day out, right? And what I do day in and day out is like so much simpler than a lot of the trading systems I see out there, because I have a set of rules. I have a set of things that I look for. There's usually something that falls in that criteria, and I follow that plan, right? There's when you start following too many different things and too many different, level 2 and time and sales versus support and resistance versus this versus that versus this versus that, for me, it's just too much. And so what I found is that the candle analysis, the trend analysis, really works for me and I stick with it. And yeah. Jess, I use all different time frames. I have the daily, weekly, 60-minute, 5-minute, 2-minute, and 15-minute, all up usually on one specific thing. Yes, very beginner friendly. The only thing that I ask is that you read that book, Charting and Technical Analysis by Fred McCallan, in advance, or at least part of it. It's a very easy read, and you can do it in like a day if you sit down and really read it. It will make your life a lot easier when I'm explaining stuff. So it's very beginner friendly. It's very beginner friendly. But yeah. So, okay, last few questions here, then I'm going to head out. Are you going over to use any indicators you use? I don't use any indicators, no indicators. I was sending out emails over the next few days. If you've locked in a spot with me on Instagram, DM me, or you don't have to DM me and remind me. I have your email. If you haven't, DM me to lock one in. But if you have, I have your email and you're on a list where I'm going to DM you and we're going to be good. And then I'm going to send out emails to everybody else who's not on that list as well and let them know the details and stuff. Yes, I will teach you about the right options, implied volatility, Greeks. We will have a full lesson on options in lesson 6 and strategies within options. That lesson will be probably closer towards the 90, 120 minute mark, just to really make sure that we cover everything. Okay, so last few things. The date that's expected, to know your emails on the locked in list with me, DM me on Instagram to confirm. If you do already talk to me, I know it's on there, you don't have to. But if you want to get on there, DM me. We will be doing some live trading together. The target start date is like January 14th to the 17th. The 14th is a Friday. Load everybody into the Discord, all that for the mentees. And then January 17th would be the official launch date on that Monday or something like that for the mentorship is the target, aiming for that. The price will be $997, so $1,000 price point will be the price, just under $1,000. 2K is an account size that I would be okay with you. 2K is an account size that I recommend people start with, especially when they haven't traded before, because that will allow you to really focus on taking 1 to 2 trades a day and managing your risk really well with that one and not really risking much of that. I will be collecting payment probably. The sales will officially launch probably a week before the mentorship actually launches. But again, if you're on that email list from DMing me, you're locked in. It just is a matter of you paying to confirm your spot once the website is fully launched. So with that, I am going to wrap it up here. I got to edit this video a little bit and then put it up on YouTube. But I am super excited, everybody. I honestly feel like I spent the last 4 years of my life working on exactly this, right? Like I've been working for different groups, working with different programs, learning how to trade on my own and doing all this. I've been building up to this for 4 years, right? And I'm ready to take you all fucking the promised land of exactly what I do every day and exactly where I found success and how to manage your risk, how to withdraw, how to find good trades, this world of trading is so up and down emotions wise. You have to find your way to navigate and manage it. And I'm really excited to show you all the path that I've taken to do that. So with that, we'll wrap it up here. Go back, get out to everybody. But yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Cheers. I love you all. Talk to you all soon.